They hear him. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier.
Hey, what's up with it, fam? It's Hot Boxing Minute, your favorite pharmaceutical engineer turned boxing analyst, back at you with that uncut realness as only I can dish it to you. The big word on the street. Terrence Bud Crawford did an IG live, and he broke down his side of the negotiations, or should I say his side of the failed negotiations between Errol Spence and him as far as the mega fight that will define this era. As of right now, let me tell you folks that in order to spare myself the mental anguish, I've pretty much accepted that we are not getting that fight. So that helps me look at everything from an indifferent perspective. People are vehemently on both sides. I don't really know why it's so difficult for people to be unbiased when it comes to this issue. Take it in, take everything in with a grain of salt. When you hear Steven Espinoza speak on it, when you hear Errol Spence speak on it, when you hear agents and managers speak on it, when you hear Bud Crawford speak on it, you got to understand everybody has an agenda on this. The truth is some part in that gray area in between everybody's lies and everybody's truths intersecting. So don't get too emotionally drawn up on what you guys hear from any side of the party, but Bud did say some very poignant things in a little 20-minute monologue on Instagram Live. I was watching it. I recorded it. I was actually uploading it to my TikTok Live, so my TikTok audience was able to chime in and get a chance to watch it as it was unfolding. There were thousands of people on it. By the way, I'm a little under the weather. Got the OJ by me. You might be able to hear it in my voice. So let's condense it in a nutshell what Terrence Crawford said. Essentially, if you've been following the negotiations between Bud Crawford and Errol Spence, you already know about how Errol Spence essentially was willing to accept taking no money up front because he was that confident in his ability to win the fight, which basically put him in a loss in the negotiation position. He was willing to take no money up front, and still no contracts got signed on both sides. He then came back to the table, hit up Errol Spence and said, look, I've got a private equity investor, two of them, that are both willing to give us both a flat fee of $25 million each. $25 million is a lot. Errol Spence's concern is, what about the back end? Justifiably so, Errol Spence's concern, if you want to know the back end, is what about the royalties and publishing and all that stuff with future broadcasts or whatever have you, the back end of it. When push comes to shove, in my head, I'm looking at $25 million a piece. Damn, that's awesome. That's more money than they likely would have gotten for the fight itself. Really think about it, folks. If you're not really that good at math, even if they sell 400,000 units, which they would be lucky to in this Fire Stick streaming theft of pay-per-view era, 400,000, say they sell it 400,000 units, what, $50 a pop? That is something like $20 million. Let's double it, $80. They make $40 million. You got to remember, they got to give up about 20 or 30% to the streaming service itself, to whatever platform they decide to broadcast this pay-per-view on. Really, $50 million, $25 million a piece flat is a damn good deal. There is potential residue income to be made on that back end. I'm not too specific about how that all works. Maybe it does equate into more than that. But if you're judging just off the gate fees and what they could have made in pay-per-view, I don't see them making more than $25 million a piece in the initial lump sum coming into this fight. But that's math I'm not willing to calculate. For those of you that don't know my background, I'm a math tutor and a pharmaceutical engineer. Crunching numbers, doing logistics is what I do for a living. But when it comes to the in-depth, like just sitting there counting beans, I'm not about to do that for any fighter or any platform, because ultimately we don't have all the details. They would not give us all the details because they are not fools. They're going to give out just enough details for the general public to sway their opinion to the left or to the right. The one thing that I do know about this negotiation between Errol Spence and Bud Crawford and this undisputed welterweight title fight that will not only define this current era of boxing, but both of their legacies as fighters, is that we are not going to get that fight. Not in the immediate future anyways. And as far as I can tell, we won't be getting that fight anytime soon. So we do know Terrence Crawford is going to be fighting David Avanesian on December 10th on this new streaming platform, Black Prime, that does the booty cheeks, street beefs, pay-per-views, whatever and what have you. Errol Spence is claiming some new announcement is coming in the works. Is he moving up to 154? Is he going to fight one of the top-rated guys in the 3 or 4 sanctioning body list that include Virgil Ortiz Jr., Imantai Stanionis, Keith Thurman, Boots Ennis? I don't really know, but a lot of people are up in arms over what Terrence Crawford just said in that live. Why didn't they sign a contract when Errol Spence was willing to take the lesser money? Errol Spence just wanted transparency, and I don't think that's a wrong thing to ask for. I think Terrence Crawford, he wants to see the books because he wants to make sure that he's not signing off on no unnecessary expenditures. Why should he sign off on Errol Spence permitting 10 of his friends to get, first-class hotel accommodations and VIP seating when that could be a potential $10,000, $20,000 that's supposed to go in his pocket? He wants transparency so he can sign off on the purchases leading up to that fight, which I think if you're not taking any money up front, that's a justifiable demand. One can also counter-argue. He didn't have that kind of request when he was working for Bob Arum and Top Rank, did he? No, but Bob Arum and Top Rank were giving him upfront money, personally a lot more money than I think he deserved, considering the fights and the opponents he was fighting. But that's neither here nor there. Everyone's mad at Terrence Crawford, and now everyone in the online world is saying Terrence Crawford is a duck, Terrence Crawford is a liar. I think it's fascinating. Boxing fans, we need to stop being so divisive and picking sides and enjoy the sport for what it is. The fight isn't materializing. On to the next. We actually have a huge fight this weekend in November 5th in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates between 2 undefeated world-class fighters. We should be focusing on that. Just this morning, we had a Fight of the Year candidate with Kyoguchi versus Taraji, and that was a stacked card. I have not gotten a chance to see it yet, unfortunately, so I'm not going to speak on it until I get a chance to look at the fight footage. It was too early in the morning for me to wake up. But this weekend in Abu Dhabi, we are going to get Dmitry Bivol, who is the light heavyweight champion of the world. Which belt does he have? Hold on a second. Let me pull this up. He is the defending WBA light heavyweight champion, and his opponent is going to be Zurdo Ramirez, the tough Mexican gentleman from Mazatlan, Mexico. This is going to be a fun fight, you guys, between 2 undefeated world-class talents, Dmitry Bivol. Zurdo Ramirez are both 31 years old. Let's get their dimensions real quick. Dmitry Bivol is 6 foot tall with a 70-inch reach. Zurdo Ramirez, 6 foot 2.5 with 75 inches of reach. We'll give the reach advantage to Zurdo Ramirez in this case, but take that reach advantage with a grain of salt, folks. Zurdo Ramirez is not what you would consider a jab-centric fighter, so he sometimes has a tendency to like to get inside and mix it up at mid-range, so he's not somebody that uses every last inch of his reach. Dmitry Bivol, that man and his jab output. Dmitry Bivol is one of the best jabbers in the game. He will use every single inch of that 70-inch reaches that he has. So the reach advantage that Zurdo Ramirez has isn't going to play much of a factor. 2.5 inches of height, that's a negligible factor. They're both 31 years old, so there isn't much of a reach difference. We got 2 fighters in their athletic prime of their lives about to fight this weekend. I'm not going to sit there and obsess about Spence and Crawford not going down. Folks, pay attention to the topic at hand. Zurdo Ramirez, Dmitry Bivol for the WBA light heavyweight title of the world. There's so many implications in this fight. Will Dmitry Bivol maintain his momentum? His last fight was that crazy, stunning defeat of Canelo Alvarez. If you've been paying attention to Zurdo Ramirez, you knew that it wasn't a very big upset that he beat Canelo Alvarez. Dmitry Bivol is a talented fighter. He, much like Shakur Stevenson, has pretty much won almost every round that he fights. He'll lose rounds here and there, but he's definitely, usually in every fight that he's in, out of 12 rounds, he'll win 9 to 10 of those rounds. He's that kind of fighter. His hit and not get hit ratio, his defensive effective percentage is better than Shakur Stevenson's. And I've been saying this ever since everyone started bringing up Shakur Stevenson being the slickest defensive fighter in the game. Statistically speaking, folks, that title goes to Dmitry Bivol. Defense in any sport wins championships. And Dmitry Bivol has beaten guys like Jean Pascal, Joe Smith Jr., Umar Salamov, all by decision, clear one-sided decisions. And he got the stoppage win over Sullivan Barrera. That is an opponent that him and Zurdo Ramirez both share in common. Zurdo also got the stoppage. Zurdo has beaten Jesse Hart twice, Arthur Abraham. So he's got his list of guys that he has beaten. He even beat Maxim Vlasov, who challenged Joe Smith Jr. for a title at light heavyweight. He beat Maxim Vlasov in the 168 weight pound division. So it's an interesting fight. They've also got other fights on that fight card. Jessica McCaskill is going to be fighting against Chantel Cameron across the pond. Chantel Cameron is a huge commodity out there in women's boxing. This is going to be for straps, for titles, for championships. I'm going to go into that fight in a separate video. For now, I wanted to talk about Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, Zurdo and Bivol on this one, but I'm going to talk about the other cards on that huge DAZN fight card out there in Dubai this weekend. But boxing community, just a quick recap. I know we've all been looking forward to it. Dmitry Bivol versus Zurdo Ramirez this weekend in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. Can Dmitry Bivol maintain his momentum, especially after that recent Canelo victory, to see him through to a victory against Zurdo Ramirez? Boxing community, how do you think the fight breaks down between Zurdo Ramirez and Dmitry Bivol? In the comments section, let me know. We got to chop this one up. Have you not already hit like? If you haven't already, please do so. Boxing community, this is your boy Hot Boxing Minute. Until the next video, peace. You are listening to the future of boxing analysis on TikTok and YouTube, y'all. One love.